Welcome to episode 47 of our series on the origins and meanings of Appalachian and Southern surnames. Each of the surnames that we'll cover today was requested by members of our YouTube community. To make our task more manageable, we're focusing on pre-Civil War family names. That's because after the Civil War, America entered the Industrial Revolution and thousands of different families moved from the South to the Rust Belt, while foreign immigrants settled across the country. I'm posting an email address for the Vantage Point in the comments section so you can request a surname catalog or index. It shows each of the names that we've covered so far and the episode in which they appear. On today's show, we'll investigate the origins and meanings of 7 Appalachian and Southern surnames. To disentangle their origins, we'll look back to medieval Ireland, England, and Scotland. I hope you'll join me. Oh yes, please stay tuned at the end of today's show for an important program announcement. Let's get started. Number 1, Godfrey. With respect to imported names to the Isles, Henry Harrison sometimes classifies surnames as Anglo-French Latin, but at other times he points to an Anglo-French Teutonic origin. It's helpful to think of the former as originating in Southern Europe. The Roman Empire, Latin was their language, but the latter refers to Germanic or Northern European roots. Despite the Normans being French-speaking Viking descendants and their Flemish and Celtic allies from Brittany, William the Conqueror brought them with him and introduced a lot of Latin-influenced names into England and the Isles. Godfrey has an equivalent form in Old French, but it also has similar words and meanings in Germanic languages, including Old Norse, hence its Teutonic origin. That means it could well have been introduced into the Isles by the Anglo-Saxons, Jutes, Frisians, or Vikings. It meant God peace. In Scotland, George Fraser Black points to the Vikings as the source of Godfrey across the bonny land. He agrees with Harrison's definition by stating that it meant God peace. In Ireland, MacLeisic calls Godfrey an anglicised name for a branch of Fermanagh. It doesn't appear among the traditional surnames of Wales, so depending on where your line of Godfrey leads you, it could be English, Scottish, or Irish with Teutonic roots. Number 2, Kinsey. Wow, here's a second Teutonic surname in a row. Kinsey means royal victory. It was in England when Old English was the tongue of the day. That was the Anglo-Saxon tongue. It's not a traditional surname in Ireland, Scotland, or Wales. That pretty much leaves us with England as a source of Kinsey. Number 3, Long. When I received this request, my mind went straight to my earliest years here on planet Earth. My step-grandmother was a Long, and her family's cemetery was so striking that my mom frequently stated that's where she wanted to be buried. Well, beyond those folks, my sister and first cousin were always talking about the Long boys at their elementary school. That was Marlow Elementary. Apparently, they were cute. One of them is now the road superintendent in my birth county in Tennessee. That's Anderson County, by the way. First person named Long was a tall fellow. That's right, Long was used instead of tall. Now, I suppose he was like Edward I of England. His nickname was Longshanks, or Long Legs. The king was made famous among non-historians as William Wallace's nemesis in the movie Braveheart. At 6'2", he was tall for those days, and I can relate to that height. I shrunk down to it from 6'3". The average height of men in the 13th century was about 5'8", which is not too far from normal for today. Nutrition was a key factor in physical stature, just like it is today. It's not surprising then that some of the Long folks in East Tennessee call themselves Scots-Irish. That might be true, but it's not because of their Long patriarchs, necessarily. MacLeisic tells us that the surname was introduced into Munster and Donegal by the Normans. Their form of the name was de Long. Had their Irish ancestors arrived from Scotland, which could have happened since the name is found among lowland Scots families, they could have called themselves the Scots-Irish. With all this said, Long is linguistically an English name, but it could have come to America with English, Irish, or Scots pioneers. Only a paper trail can tell you for sure where your line originated. I say sure, that is, if there was no hanky-panky in the old family tree. Number 4, Addington. Addington must be one of the most unique English surnames that I've come across in a while. Why, you might ask? Well, it's a toponomic surname, but it's sort of like an onion with a couple of layers to peel back to see the core meaning. In the days when the Anglos and the Saxons were arriving from northern Europe, there was at least one man among them named Ada, who became wealthy in lands in eastern England. In time, they owned a large manor, he and his family. And some of the workers on the lord's estate were known as Addington. It meant of Ada's estate or manor. There's a good chance that the original bearers of the surname were of indigenous Celtic origin. I say that because only about 40% of DNA among Eastern English folk, which is the highest concentration in the Isles, is Germanic. As tenants on a Saxon lord's estate, they were likely of local origin. Addington is not found among the traditional surnames in Ireland, Scotland, or Wales, so I think we're safe in calling Addington an English surname. Number 5, Medley. Like Addington, Medley is an Old English Anglo-Saxon era surname. It meant middle lea. A lea is a meadow. Consequently, someone from a middle meadow was given the name of one who belongs to a piece of ground. Also, like Addington, Medley is not found among the traditional surnames of Ireland, Scotland, and Wales. That makes me confident that Medley is an English surname. Number 6, Medlin. This is yet another name given to an Old English speaker who lived in a meadow, or near one. Like Addington and Medley, Medlin is only found among the traditional surnames of England. It could be out there, there may be somebody who moved over there. Sure enough, somebody will write me and say, I've got a cousin that lived in Ireland and his name is Medlin. Well, that may be the case and more power to you, but it's not among the traditional surnames. Number 7, Ferris. I was excited to receive the request for Ferris. I have a dear friend named Ferris who was born and raised near the Grand Lake of the Cherokee in Ottawa County, Oklahoma. Her family name could have 2 origins. One is from Bonnie, Scotland, where it's a branch of Clan Ferguson. You might note that Ferguson was originally McFergus. However, in Ireland, outside of Ulster, it's most likely of Irish origin as a form of O'Fergus. Hey, I said it. Oh, anyway. Here's a trigger warning. In the South and Appalachia, Ferris could well be a Scots-Irish surname or Scotch-Irish. Otherwise, it's either Scottish or Irish, depending on where your line leads you. I wanted to let you know that I'm going to be out of pocket for 2 to 3 weeks. On Thursday of this week, I'm going into the hospital in Morristown, Tennessee for a hip replacement. You might ask, why Morristown? It's not a big city. Surely the hospital can't be that well renowned. I'm going there because that's where Dr. Ronald Christopher practices his craft. This is an unpaid endorsement, by the way. He's one of the best orthopedic docs in the country. Nevertheless, please remember me in your prayers this week. Oh, and don't forget to check out all the videos on the Vantage Point. In addition to the Surnames of Appalachian, the South series, they cover a wide range of topics, including a show on the deadliest volcanic eruption of the 20th century. It was in the Caribbean Sea, believe it or not. If the man warrants it, I'll be back soon with another episode on the Surnames of Appalachia and the American South. I hope to see you then. God bless you and yours. Bye-bye.